If there's a brief question, we can handle one. Yes, right over here. Oh,
thank
we'll
you.
take two of them.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Kai Gottschalk, financial spokesman of the AfD party in the German parliament. I agree with everything you said here, but I think you've forgotten one thing. Who's controlling the money is a master of money. And I mean, maybe could it be a big reason for people to invest, especially in crypto, while we could observe a high inflation rate during the last years and abuse of a lot of governments of currency that needs, for example, in the time of COVID, and we spend a lot of deficits. The United States also have a problem with a double deficit. That means to be the leading currency in the world means you have a spread between ex and imports, and of course high deficit spending also in the United States, and that maybe could be a reason that the confidence in a lot of currencies, especially in Germany, we are also against right now the digital euro. Many other reasons are responsible for that, but maybe could you state for that? It's for me also our job to create and bring back confidence and trust in currencies, and the political influence on the currency is, in my opinion, too big. Do you agree or do you disagree?
You know fiat what it means. It means as it is. It's writing in the central bank book. It's a belief.
Thank you. Shafiq Gaber.
All right. My name is Shafiq Gaber. I'm from Egypt. I'm just going to make three very sharp, simple points. In 2019, I met Senator Dan Coates when he was Director of National Intelligence, and I asked him, why does the United States allow the dark web and crypto unless you are able to visualize them and indicate what's wrong and what's right? He didn't answer my question, and I can see a smile at the very end here with the special agent. But if I, with Chairman Pittenger, do $1 million deal, not a simple deal, on crypto, governments don't take their VAT, they don't take their tax. So what are we doing? Pushing people to do business, even if it's legitimate business, but avoiding government rules. So that's point number two. Final point, the US President has already created his own crypto, and he's discussing, and I see another smile, and he's also discussing having reserve currency in crypto. This whole excellent presentation is about global security, but I'm listening to a lot of things, but I see that we're undermining global security with all what's going on rather than the other way around.
Very quickly, having a crypto as your reserves for your federal bank, remember, cryptos only depend on sentiment. To me, I like to call this depending on fairy gold.
Just very quickly, that I think it's a very complex issue, this. There are very good actors who we want to enable in the system, and there are also, the issues that have been discussed that obviously have to be addressed. And I think education of members of parliament, understanding and having regulations that work are very, very key. But we had the Children's Parliament come to the UK. Everything is digital. Finance, this is the next stage of finance. It's becoming digital whether we like it or not. And legislators have to get on top of this. Their whole world is digital. We can't push water up a hill, and we're going to have to continue to grapple with it, educate each other and collaborate for the best outcome.
Well said, Doctor. I had Leo Campos right now.
You were mentioning something about El Salvador, that the system that the President Bukele tried to implement had failed, did not work. This morning, I was looking at the social media, and Bukele has posted something about he won 132% in Bitcoins because he invested $291 million to give round figures, and he got a gain of 386 million. What's the parameters that you use that the system has failed in Bukele's system has failed? How come?
So I have given training to the El Salvador Banking Association, and one of my questions is what's going on with Bitcoin. And they said the banking system is not using the Bitcoin. Why? Because if you have Bitcoins, you have to go to the central bank. They have a central converter. Then it's converted into dollars, and then it's entering the El Salvador banking sector, which is then fully in dollars. So there is an exchange controlling the in and out of the Bitcoins, and is the president and his friends who are controlling this. And so that's, you can see is a success for them or is a failure, but the percentage in El Salvador in the economy is very small.
And I think the question was for Dr. McDonald. I'm not sure if you heard. Okay, so basically the question was, what is the measurement that you're basing your assumption or you claim that the Bitcoin experiment has failed in El Salvador, and that there was a post that happened on social media, I think this morning, by basically claiming that there's been over a 300% increase in the value of El Salvador's reserves. So what is your assumption?
Actually, I saw the announcement by El Salvador that Bitcoin was supposed to be the currency of El Salvador. That total experiment had failed, and it was no longer to be El Salvador's currency. So that was the view of the president, not the view of any other commentator. And you have to remember that Bitcoin's the value of Bitcoin depends only on sentiment. It's what now Bitcoin is high at about $106 per Bitcoin, but who knows what might happen next week? It might drop to $30. It fluctuates and has fluctuated so much that it's not possible to rely on it because it depends solely on sentiment. It is not dependent on the economic performance of the country, which is what, of course, the US dollar, the euro, etc. depend on. So, yeah, I noticed it with interest because I knew the initial experiment hadn't worked very well, partly because merchants did not have the systems in place to exchange, to allow purchases via Bitcoin. That was the initial problem, but ultimately the problem is it depends only on sentiment, and he abandoned that.
Thank you. Mariano, did you want to make a comment?
Yes, thank you, Robert, and thank you to all the panelists. I think I wanted to make to pose a question regarding a comment that Dr. McDonald made on Libra, on the Libra stablecoin. I want to ask you now, with the benefit of hindsight, right? Don't you think we could argue also that Libra offered the West, particularly the United States, a unique chance to shape global norms and infrastructure for digital currencies? Instead of supporting a dollar-backed, privately led but publicly regulated global stablecoin, Western governments chose to shut it down probably out of regulatory fear in a way. And Libra was not perfect, but it was an opening salvo in a coming war for digital monetary dominance. And I wonder whether killing it prematurely may have, ceded the initiative to geopolitical rivals like China that, have gained a lot of ground in the stablecoin business across Asia and Africa and many parts of Latin America as well. Full disclosure, I was the head of the financial intelligence unit of the Libra project, but we had a very strong compliance team led by Stuart Levy, former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, former General Counsel of HSBC, Sterling Dames, former Chief Compliance Officer of Credit Suisse. It really had one of the strongest safeguards in terms of anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing compliance that I've ever seen. And I try to be as objective as possible, of course, in the comment.
Thank you.
Well, just a quick comment.
30
on that.
seconds.
Basically, a lack of trust, and central governments fear that it would undermine their own, I don't mean just their own position, but their own responsibilities of defending the currencies of their own countries. So an outside organization not undertaking that task for more than one currency was not going to be accepted by central banks and therefore by governments.
About sentiment and Bitcoin. Why this sentiment is because there's a digital algorithm who is managing the issuing of the Bitcoins. So it's not like, and that's the risk with government and with central banks, they can print as much money as they want, and that is why the Bitcoin or the techie guys, they prefer technology and an algorithm that is managing the number of Bitcoins towards the number of dollars or euros. Thank you.
Oh, that's going to be hard but in 10 seconds, because firstly I wanted to say compliments to Lilita that she says $200 million. I think the US government should give some provision to their offices so they don't have to leave the DEA and going to private sector and stay within the prosecutors. And thank you, Jean, for the excellent presentation. I have a question. It's a very simple question, because we are facing in Europe prosecution of cash, and then it's always explained like this is used for criminal purposes. But the statistics of the Europol itself says that up to 70% of the criminal transactions are done by very normal banking transfers, just some around 20% in cash, and crypto is around 1 up to 5%, but growing. So how is your perception? What is crypto? How is crypto growing, and how is it going to be in the future?
Who'd like to respond? 10 seconds.
I can respond rapidly. I think the banking system is what it is. The AML laws are what they are. People with a lot of money can pay a lot of auditors and lawyers to get the right structures, to bundle it in the right way, that it goes through normal legal transactions. And that's why we are there where we are, and I think it's very important also for the people of the Parliament that still, as you say, 80% are in the normal banking transaction, and crypto is probably 1 or 2%. So what she is doing is a great job, but it's very small compared to the global banking system.
Thank you. That concludes our...
So sorry. And also to say that in my understanding, and obviously as has already been described very eloquently, it's not the best if you're a criminal. My understanding is, it's all on the blockchain, so you can trace it with crypto. So in many ways, it's not the best method for that type of financial transaction, if that's your framework of mind. So I feel that, as has been said, it's a very small proportion, and what we need to focus on is getting, because there's always going to be, with all money, there are good actors and bad actors, and we need to have the regulation and the governance in place. We need to also focus on the social impact use cases that we can very much develop together. Thank you, Congressman.
So much to be said and discussed on these topics. Thank each of you. Wonderful panel. Thank you, panelists.